Hi guys, welcome to HOB TV. This is episode 22. We're really excited for today's episode. This upcoming week, we got Manny Pacquiao versus Thurman. It's going to be a great fight. But before we get started, I'm passing it over to my boy Steve. He's going to get us going with our intro.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 22. Pacquiao versus Thurman, preview, prediction, and analysis. Now, David, we were amongst the very first of any shows to talk about this fight back in April on episode 13. Go back, check it out. But a lot has changed since then. The betting odds have changed, and the narrative has changed as well. Yeah. Whereas Pacquiao back then was seen as the old shop-worn fighter, where many were thinking this could be his last fight, now we are seeing that that is not the case. After a very impressive training camp, we are seeing that Pacquiao's case is not one of a geriatric fighter sticking around for a big payday. From everything we have seen thus far in his training camp, you could see that the fire still burns and that this 40-year-old version of Pacquiao still has much to prove to himself and still has much to offer the sport of boxing. Now, David, if anything, the bigger questions surrounding this promotion have been around the 30-year-old Keith Thurman. He didn't look great at all in his January fight against Lopez, and he hasn't necessarily looked great in the videos we've seen of him in his training camp. Now, we know he had some inactivity, 2 years. He had a bout with depression. Now, David, we mentioned that the fire still burns inside Pacquiao. Yeah. Could we say the same about Thurman? Does the fire still burn inside Keith Thurman at this point?
I really think it's just too early to tell. Like you mentioned, he just had that one fight with Josito Lopez, which he didn't look impressive. So I guess we'll find out this fight, right? It's gonna be interesting to watch. Like you said, Pacquiao's coming off wins. Like you said, that fire, you could tell that fire's still burning inside him. And we'll see if Thurman, I mean, I've been watching a couple videos of his training. He's hitting like a bag at LA Fitness. I don't know what he's doing, but I mean, I'm not sure if that's just all just to sell up the fight or maybe kind of trick Pacquiao into thinking that. But I guess we'll see with that come fight night. But it's going to be a great fight.
We don't know where Keith Thurman's head is at.
Mm-hmm.
He's made a lot of bizarre statements that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
For me, it's kind of like the moment might be a little big for him. That's why he's making all these statements as a mask to kind of mask that. You know?
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see that fight night. But guys, let's take a look at the big vitals for this fight. This bout is for Thurman's WBA Super World Welterweight title as well. His undefeated streak is on the line as well. He's 29-0 with 22 big knockouts. Now, Pacquiao is entering his 71st fight in his career, a career that has spanned over 24 years. This fight is at the MGM Grand in Vegas, and Pacquiao will be the house fighter in Vegas as he's fought there 18 times. This is his 18th time fighting in Las Vegas. Now, let's take a look at this fight by the numbers, guys. We're going to throw out some numbers, and we're going to tell you how it pertains to this fight. First number is minus 140. Minus 140, David. That's the current odds for this fight in favor of Manny Pacquiao.
Wow.
Now, when we first talked about this fight, he was at plus 120, 125, but all the smart money is going to him now. So he's minus 140, current odds on Bovada. The next number I'm going to throw at you is 4,512. You know what that is? That's how much one ringside seat is going for this fight.
Wow.
On StubHub. Which brings me to my next question. Could I borrow some money? But the most important number for the people watching at home, people that are going to buy this fight, is $75. $75 is how much this fight costs on pay-per-view. Speaking of pay-per-view, what is your guess for how many pay-per-view sales this fight does? Now, keep in mind that Pacquiao Broner did 400,000.
I think it'll do more. I think it will do more. It'll do around 600,000 maybe. Because, you know, at the end of the day, Pacquiao still has a following, and off those two wins, it definitely gets people excited again. You know, Filipinos are going to be behind Pacquiao. So I think, I mean, the undercard is pretty decent. So, the boxing fans will buy it, but I see it being like 600,000.
Well, you know, the Broner fight did 400,000. I'm just going to go a little bit more than that. I'm going to say about 450,000.
Okay.
Because Keith Thurman has no fan base. He has no following, right?
Yeah.
This guy, he's been on HBO. He's been on Showtime. He's been on ESPN. Mm-hmm. He's been on NBC. He's been on Spike TV. And his numbers haven't grown, you know? Frankly, he doesn't bring in a lot of viewers. Pacquiao is bringing in the viewers.
Yeah.
So I say about 450,000, 50,000 more than the last time, just because there's a little bit more intrigue in this fight. Undefeated
There is,
fight,
yeah.
you know.
There
But
is.
as far as the fan base, it's just not there for Keith one-time Thurman. Now, we mentioned the main event. Now it's time for us to take a look at the undercard, and we're going to grade it.
Yeah.
So, David, the co-feature is your Dennis Ugas versus Omar Figueroa Jr.
Okay.
What's your prediction for that fight?
Man, that's gonna be a pretty good fight, man. I mean, we'll see how Omar Figueroa looks, but I see Ugas taking it, man. I mean, Omar Figueroa is kind of slow, kind of sluggish. I think Ugas can outbox him. I mean, look what Ugas did with Sean Porter.
I think he won that fight.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people thought he won that fight too. So I mean, if he can, keep the same momentum from that fight into this fight, I see Ugas winning.
So we both like Ugas in that fight. I like his technical style.
Yeah.
Figueroa knows how to fight one way. That's coming forward,
Yeah.
right? Second fight is Sergey Lipinets coming off a retirement of Lamont Peterson, going against John Molina Jr., who's been around for at least a decade or so.
Yeah.
Never really had that big fight, but this could be it right here. What do you think of this fight?
I mean, it's going to be one of those fights where, you're just not going to want to get up because I see it being an all-out war. John Molina knows how to fight one way too. So, but I see Lipinets knocking him out, man. I mean, he's going to be there to hit. Like you said, Lipinets coming off that win off of Peterson. So, I mean, he has the confidence coming in. He definitely has the more power in this fight. So I see him, ending it possibly early, maybe in the middle rounds. But it'll be an exciting fight to watch.
Yeah, I don't see this fight going the distance at all.
Yeah.
Molina's, he is shot-born. He's been around.
Yeah.
But Lipinets is a strong guy, man.
Yeah.
Mikey Garcia, Robert Garcia will tell you that.
Yeah.
That he gave Mikey Garcia a little bit of trouble with that strength, Next fight is Luis Neri from Tijuana versus Juan Carlos Bayano from the Dominican Republic. This fight will be as fun for as long as it lasts, right? I don't expect this fight to go past 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Juan Carlos Bayano went 1 round with the Monster Inoue, fighter of the year.
Yeah.
What do you think of this fight? How far do you think it goes?
I think it goes no more than 6. I give Bayano the benefit of the doubt. Went 6, but I think Neri's going to be too strong this fight, man. I think it'll be an exciting fight too. I mean, this is a pretty good card. I mean, being a pay-per-view, you would hope for it to be a good card. So, I think Neri is going to be knocking out Bayano. He's a strong dude, local guy from Tijuana. So, we're rooting for him.
Now, the last fight on the card, and actually this is going to be the first fight on the TV portion that you'll be able to see for free on Fox. Caleb Plant versus Mike Lee for Caleb Plant's 168-pound title.
Yeah.
I like Caleb Plant, of course. What do you think of this fight?
I like Caleb Plant too, man. Based off his last performance, I like the guy. He's a real likable guy. He has a lot of skill. I was surprised that he was able to keep that pace the whole 12 rounds with Uzcategui. So I see him winning the fight, possibly even stopping Mike Lee, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now let's take a look at the undercard as a whole. What grade would you give this undercard?
Man, I give it a solid B, possibly even a B plus, man. I mean, if you want to compare it to Canelo undercards, it's just the A plus. I mean, but look it, man, it's gonna be a great night of boxing. I mean, I'm looking forward to the Pacquiao Thurman fight, but the undercard is exciting too. Like you mentioned, John Molina is gonna come bring it. Ugas, I want to see what happens with that. So it's a pretty good undercard. Like I said, I give it a solid B, B plus.
I'm gonna give it a B minus. It's a valiant effort by the PBC to put on a quality card, as we said, compared to some of these other promotional companies who only care about putting on that big main event. So props to the PBC. With that said, there are a lot of mismatches, right?
Yeah.
But they'll be fun while they last.
Exactly.
And as a fan, that's what we want to see.
Yeah, and then there'll be knockouts, right? So, I mean, that's what people want to see.
Yeah. Now, David, moving on, as we did for Canelo Jacobs preview, we went around asking gym members here at the House of Boxing their predictions for this big fight. But before we get to that, both fighters, Pacquiao and Thurman, are predicting that this fight will not go the distance, with Thurman going further and saying that this fight won't go past 6 rounds. David, fact or fiction? This fight, Pacquiao Thurman, will not go the distance. Fact or fiction?
Fiction. I say fiction. I mean, if Thurman wins, though, I do see him focusing in those early rounds. So I can see possibly Thurman taking Pacquiao out early, maybe with the power. But like you said, I'm not sure if the drive is there. I mean, Pacquiao has that drive. And if Pacquiao takes him in those later rounds, it's going to be trouble for Thurman.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Thurman is that he starts off hot. He gives you the first 3-4 rounds looking really good.
Yeah.
He might score a knockdown, and then he kind of just takes the next couple rounds off.
Yeah.
You can't do that against Pacquiao because he's going to be consistent in his volume and his attack. I think it's fiction as well. I think this fight will go the distance.
Yeah.
Both guys haven't scored any big knockouts in quite some time. I think Thurman has been 5 years since his last KO. Yeah. And Pacquiao has scored maybe 2 knockouts in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So, I don't think anybody's knocking anybody out in this fight, right?
But it's interesting to see. So we'll see we'll see Saturday.
Now, as you mentioned, now it's time to show you who the members here at the House of Boxing are favoring in this fight. So we're going to go ahead and roll that clip right now.
My prediction for the Pacquiao versus Thurman fight. I think it all depends on how Thurman boxes, because Thurman moves around, he boxes a lot, so it really depends on him. But Pacquiao's really looking good right now. His training is very determined, focused for this fight. I just went running with him yesterday, man. He could run, and he's very determined. So I'm leaning towards Pacquiao, maybe late stoppage or decision, but it all again depends on Thurman.
So my prediction for Pacquiao Thurman, I got Pacquiao going to 12 rounds. I just think he's a better fighter overall, more crafty veteran. I mean, we've seen Thurman hurt versus José Lopez, Collazo, and I just think he's gonna see something that he's never seen before from a crafty southpaw. So that's what I got.
So Pacquiao versus Thurman. I think it's going to be a great fight. One side, we got Thurman, very technical fighter. He likes to box, likes to stay on the outside, use his jab. On the other hand, though, we got Pacquiao. He's got lightning fast speed. He's got great power and seems to never get tired. Well, ultimately, I think I got Pacquiao knocking him out or stopping him in round 8 through 10.
So thank you to the guys that were able to give their opinion and their prediction on the fight.
Pretty unanimous
Decision that Pacquiao is going to be the winner. And, I am going to mention that we are in the Paradise Hills. There's a large Filipino community here.
Large contingent.
There's a lot of Filipinos here in Paradise Hills, National City. So, man. So we're going to go into our fight predictions for Manny Pacquiao Thurman. What do you think, Steve?
David, I'm going to go ahead and say Pacquiao by split decision. Nobody's knocking anybody out in this fight. I like Pacquiao's volume. I think his work rate is going to be that much higher than Thurman. As I mentioned, I think Thurman's going to slack off in a few rounds, as he usually does, and Pacquiao is going to take advantage of that. Judging-wise, we know we can't trust the judges, so one of them is going to have it for Thurman. Yeah. 2 of them is going to have it for Pacquiao. Split decision for Manny Pacquiao.
That's a great prediction, but I'm going to go with unanimous decision, Manny Pacquiao. If it's not a unanimous decision, I do see it a split decision. But again, like you mentioned, I think Pacquiao's just going to outwork him throughout the fight. Thurman gets tired in those later rounds. I think, Thurman's going to be a little hesitant to figure Pacquiao out a little bit, the movement, the side-to-side movement. So I have Pacquiao winning, unanimous decision. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a great fight.
Yeah. Now, good prediction. As we wind down here on another great preview show, we mentioned that Pacquiao's career has spanned 24 years, 2 decades.
Wow.
I got to ask you, David, out of all those 25 years, what has been your favorite Pacquiao moment?
My favorite Pacquiao moment, I would have to say personally, man, when he knocked out Ricky Hatton. That was a nasty knockout, man. I mean, and that was when he was coming up and moving up in weight, kind of. And for him to do that, I mean, that was pretty impressive. I mean, I can also mention the Marquez fights. You can also mention the Eric Morales fights, the Barrera fights. This guy's been in so much wars, man, so much legendary fights. I mean, but for me personally, I think the Ricky Hatton was one of my favorite fights. Just putting him out like that was pretty impressive.
That was as Max Kellerman said, Hatton got YouTubed in that fight. He got flattened out.
Yeah.
He was never the same after that too. Man, there's so many great moments to pick from. If you're a Mexican fight fan, you have a little something in your heart for Pacquiao.
Yeah.
All those great moments. It's easy to say the Marquez fights, so I'm not going to say those. The two fights that stick out are the Oscar De La Hoya fight, where he retired Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah.
Background to that, he had to go up 2 weight classes to fight Oscar De La Hoya. And, I was in Vegas that weekend, and the vibe all around was that Oscar De La Hoya was going to destroy Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
And I got a fun story. I ran into Harold Letterman at the MGM Grand, and I asked him his prediction. And he looked at me like I was an idiot for asking him. He gave me this look, and he said, Oscar's going to win. Everybody was just so sure Oscar De La Hoya was going to win.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. Pacquiao ruined those plans. Probably the greatest performance of his career. Another performance that stands out is the Miguel Cotto fight.
Yeah, I was mentioning that too.
People thought Miguel Cotto had such a great chance to beat him. There was a lot of hype surrounding that fight. Unfortunately, Cotto had a guy named Joe Santiago in his corner, which was a big mistake. This guy was a nobody in the sport, and he disappeared after that fight.
Yeah.
That performance was so bad that Joe Santiago, I don't know if he's been seen from again in boxing. But he absolutely destroyed Miguel Cotto, rearranged his face. So, many great moments in the Manny Pacquiao storied career. Speaking of Miguel Cotto, David, you know what he's doing nowadays?
What he's doing?
He retired a few years ago. He has Miguel Cotto.
I know he's doing the promotional Miguel Cotto promotions.
Miguel Cotto Promotions, but it's kind of surprising that he recently enrolled in culinary school.
What? Culinary school, making food, cook, chef.
He's taking classes.
Chef Cotto.
In a hotel in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Here's some pics right here, guys, of a future chef Cotto.
Wow.
So he went from a career of breaking ribs to preparing ribs now. So, props to him, one of our favorites.
Of course.
He's immortalized here in this figure that doesn't really look like him, but, we wanted to immortalize him here on the House of Boxing set.
It's good to see, man. It's good to see a boxer doing something after his career and still learning, man. That's good. It's good to see, and props to Cotto for that.
Yeah.
So there you guys have it for this week's episode. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. If you guys haven't watched our Catching Up with Elias Diaz and our interview with Carlos Barragan Jr., make sure you guys go check that out. Thank you guys for tuning on in. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey, thanks, guys.